takes us to visit one of our weather watchers.
Oh yeah, you know what time it is. It's time for Mets Around the World. But today we're meeting a First Alert weather watcher. So we're going to take a trip to Trussville, Alabama to meet Tyler Young. Here is Tyler Young. Take a look. Okay, Tyler, so you're a weather watcher, but let's start from the beginning. Where does your interest in weather begin?
Well, 1993, there was a big blizzard here in Alabama. I was 11 years old, and kind of after that, I just kind of got more and more interested in weather. Just kind of what causes the snow and what causes tornadoes, what makes the rain happen.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, so at 11 years old, I know most people say, oh yeah, a tornado happened, but for you it was a blizzard.
That's right.
It was a blizzard.
That's right.
So at 11 years old, I guess we don't get much snow. You were here in Alabama?
Yes, I was in Marion County,
okay.
In Hamilton, Alabama at the time. I remember missing school. Our power, believe it or not, never went out, but a lot of Alabama lost their power. It was interesting having a foot of snow, 15 inches, 12 inches to 15 inches, and there were some places that was 18 inches. As an 11-year-old in Alabama, I mean, that's like a kid's dream come true.
It's like a Christmas gift.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so after your interest in weather sparked, how did it kind of maneuver or change over the years? Did you start to research weather at 11 years old or get more into it at that point?
I paid a lot more attention to it, but the older I got, I started following temperature, like I said, temperature changes, and I love science, but if I could reverse, I would have probably went to meteorology school, honestly. Looking back on it, just kind of backtrack a little bit, I'd have probably done that. But things really, really started getting more interesting, obviously in 2011, when a tornado outbreak happened here in Alabama. That's probably the biggest event in my lifetime ever.
Yeah, so tell me about that day. Where were you at and what happened? Kind of walk me through that story from your perspective.
Yeah, so I lived on Highway 280 in Birmingham at the time, and I'll never forget that morning waking up, and it was of course, my alert went off on my phone, and it wasn't a tornado that morning. It was straight line winds early in the morning, and then as the day progressed, it was more tornadoes. I can't remember the number we had, but we had an outstanding number. About halfway through, I remember playing tennis that morning, and it was like 85 degrees, and I thought to myself, this doesn't feel right. It stormed this morning, and playing tennis before lunch, just something didn't feel right. I guess about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock, we got a phone call about our farm place in North Alabama. And I've actually got some photos from that if you'd like to see them.
Pull it up. Yes, absolutely. So what's this a picture of right here?
This right here was built during the Civil War, and this was a farm place that's been in my family since the Civil War. So a lot of history in this area. It's my family's property up in Guin, Alabama, in Marion County. This is what it looked like after the storm came through.
My goodness.
Which was a heartbreaker.
Wow.
These here are limbs that were pulled off of trees, and they were actually sticking in the siding of another house about 100 yards from this house. Amazingly, did not get hardly touched except the siding ripped off. The structure stayed, but these were all over the place. And just to show how powerful that tornado was, if I recall correctly, the one that started there is one of the ones that ended up in Hackleburg.
Oh, wow.
So it ended up being, I think, an EF4 or EF5. But ever since this particular day was when my nerd came out in me.
It really came out.
Really started.
So let me ask you about this day. No one was at the property at the time that it got destroyed.
Correct.
So that's a blessing in itself.
Absolutely.
And so when you guys went back, was it the same day, that night, or the next day?
It was the very next day.
The very next day.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw.
Oh yeah. I mean, you pull up to something like that right there.
Yeah, it doesn't even look the same. Absolutely not.
No, I mean, night and day.
Wow.
Now, this is actually another storm that came through at my parents' house in Center Point. Just to talk, about how important it is to be prepared for storms. You never know.
Right.
Some people don't take them serious at all.
Until it
And-
comes in their area. They're like, oh, I never see storms over
Right.
here. And you just never know.
But
Wow.
there's a little more of them before and
after.
after, and then the limbs that we had picked up. But for a tornado to rip bark off of a limb and a tree was just mind-boggling to me.
Absolutely. Okay, so after 2011, is that when you became a weather watcher, or when did you become a weather watcher?
2016
Okay.
at Weatherfest.
Oh, what's Weatherfest?
Well, they don't have it anymore, and they haven't had it, and we'll have to get it west back on that.
Okay.
They had it downtown at the McWane Science Center.
Okay.
They had all the guys were there. They had the little storm chaser out there,
Okay.
and it had the meter on the screen in there. They had a green screen set up so you could play,
Practice on
act
it.
like you were doing the weather and
Right.
everything. You could look inside the storm chaser and see how they do it when they ride around. I'm sure you've maybe got to experience that or will.
Yeah.
But that day I talked to
that's
Wes.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I talked to JP and I talked to Wes and Link, and actually over the years, Wes and I and JP, I mean, we've become really good
Really
friends.
good friends.
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
So in 2016, you
Correct.
became a weather watcher. So at that Weatherfest, I'm not really familiar with it. Is that when they were like, hey, we have this opportunity, or?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the time I lived in, let's see, that was in 2016. We lived in Moody.
Okay.
So I was a weather watcher for Moody.
Nice.
So 2 years ago, we moved to Argo.
Okay.
So, which is literally across the bridge here, a mile and a half, not even a mile and a half. And I did the Argo weather watching. And then I sent Wes a text and said, hey,
I'm moving.
I'm moving again. You got three different towns from this guy here. So, all in, basically two counties, St. Clair, Jefferson County, and we're in Jefferson now. So, but here in Trussville, Trussville's a larger city in the Birmingham area, or one of the larger cities in the area. So I mean, I absolutely love going out on my little thing and looking at my phone. It reports to my phone, so I can check the temperature and the
All day long.
rain wherever I am.
That's
and sometimes
awesome.
my wife will actually, what are you doing? Well, I got to see what the weather was. I got to see what the high, the low, and the
Yeah.
current temps and the rain is, and so I can send that in. But yeah, I mean, that's something that
That's awesome. Okay, so one last question for you. What is your favorite part about being a weather watcher? What do you love most about it?
I love taking pictures.
Really?
Yes, I love going outside. Not necessarily in the worst part of a storm,
Right.
but if it's coming a downpour and I know there's going to be a safe way to get a photo of some lightning, I love doing that.
And you told me you actually just use your cell phone.
I do in my iPhone.
You just use your
Put it on
phone.
a tripod and set it out there and put a little timer on it, and it takes those photos for me. I slow it down, capture those photos, and send them to Wes. I work at Deerfoot Insurance, so being on the insurance side of things, I'm able to see when a claim comes in after a storm. I'm usually the first one that gets a phone call when tornadoes come through. Hey, our roof blew off last night.
Wow.
So being able to get that phone call from that person on a personal line, being able to share, hey, I'm here for you, and even sharing my faith with them,
Yeah,
I mean-
that's good.
just to comfort them. People need that these days.
Oh, I had the greatest time meeting Tyler Young, and I hope you did too. But we'll be right back after the break for one more look at that 7-day forecast.
We heard the first alert.